Dogs. Dogs were the first to cross the line between wild and welcome. Tamed from wolves around 30,000 years ago, probably by accident. They began by loitering near campfires for scraps and ended up as security, alarms, and hunting partners. Burials from the Ice Age show humans and dogs interred together, early evidence of sentimentality or just good teamwork. By the Neolithic, dogs pulled sleds, guarded herds, and shared every climate we entered. Ancient cave art shows them chasing ibex long before leashes existed. In Egypt, Greece, and China, dogs acquired names, collars, and moral praise for loyalty. Modern breeds are evolutionary art projects, from wolves to chihuahuas in a blink of history. We call them man's best friend, but they're really our most successful mutual survival strategy. Cats. Cats appeared about 9,000 years ago, uninvited but effective. Grain storage brought mice. Mice brought cats, and humans tolerated both. In Egypt, they were pampered, perfumed, and buried with their owners. The earliest record of a species achieving celebrity status. Greek travelers wrote about Egyptian households mourning their cats with shaved eyebrows. Later, Romans admired their independence. Medieval Europe alternated between worship and suspicion. By the Renaissance, cats re-emerged as quiet muses beside artists and philosophers. The 19th century caged them indoors and named them breeds. Today, cats still perform the same basic job, looking dignified while doing absolutely nothing helpful. Horses. Horses were domesticated around 3,500 BCE on the Central Asian steppes. At first, people probably ate them. Then someone realized they were faster alive. They pulled chariots in Mesopotamia, carried knights in armor, and became the engines of empire. Egyptians painted them crimson in battle scenes. Romans built entire cults around cavalry gods. In art, the horse became motion itself, all muscle, grace, and partnership. By the 18th century, breeding turned them into status symbols with hooves. Today, most horses exist for sport or therapy, but the bond remains ancient. Two prey animals pretending they're in control. Falcons. Falcons entered human history around 2000 BCE, trained for hunting across Mesopotamia and Arabia. They symbolize nobility, precision, and patience. In medieval Europe, manuals dictated which class could fly which bird, the avian version of dress code. Training required months of trust and delicacy, creating one of the earliest examples of positive reinforcement. Falcons later joined armies, carried cameras, and appeared on royal crests. Their modern keepers still wear the leather glove, the hood, and the quiet pride of controlling something that refuses to be owned. Monkeys. Ancient Egyptians kept vervet monkeys as house companions. Mesopotamians imported them from Africa as gifts for rulers. Art shows them wearing jewelry, drinking wine, and looking faintly judgmental. In India, they became temple residents and tricksters in myth. By the 18th century, European elites bought capuchins and macaques to amuse guests. They dressed them in clothes which never ended well. Hollywood later replaced parlors, and monkeys became sidekicks on screen. Even today, their near-human behavior fascinates and unsettles us. The uncanny valley, but with bananas. Parrots. Parrots arrived in ancient Greece and Rome through Eastern trade routes. They could mimic human voices, instantly making them the party trick of the ancient world. Cleopatra reportedly owned one. Roman poets complained about their expense. During the Age of Exploration, sailors brought them home as living souvenirs from the tropics. In Victorian parlors, parrots replaced gramophones before gramophones existed. They're still the only pets that answer back, sometimes too accurately. Pigeons. Domesticated 5,000 years ago, pigeons carried messages long before postmen. They served pharaohs, soldiers, and stockbrokers alike. The Greek Olympics used them to announce winners. World War I used them to save battalions. Victorians bred extravagant varieties with feathered feet and absurd posture. Modern city pigeons are their scrappy descendants. Less glory, more breadcrumbs. Still, they've never stopped finding their way home. Turtles and tortoises. Ancient Greeks saw tortoises as symbols of steadiness. Chinese legends linked them with longevity. Romans kept them in ornamental ponds, feeding them leftovers from banquets. Sailors later carried them as living rations, an unfortunate misunderstanding of companionship. By the 18th century, naturalists kept them in garden pens for study and serenity. Victorian households treated them as novelty decor. Today, they remain slow, silent witnesses to our impatience, outliving owners with quiet satisfaction. Snakes. Egyptians revered snakes as protectors of the household, though protector is a flexible term. Some temples housed tame cobras, symbolizing royalty. Romans kept harmless species near granaries for pest control. In modern times, collectors revived snake keeping as proof of calm nerves and niche expertise. Their appeal lies in motionless grace, a creature that neither blinks nor begs. They're the least emotional roommates you can have, and possibly the most elegant. Rabbits. Medieval monks in France first bred rabbits for meat that didn't count as meat during Lent. They soon realized the animals were pleasant company. Artists of the Renaissance painted ladies with pet rabbits as symbols of innocence. By the 19th century, selective breeding produced ornamental varieties with floppy ears and calm temperaments. They've stayed popular because they combine the softness of a pillow with the opinions of a cat. Fish. Ancient Chinese records show carp bred for beauty 2 millennia ago, the first goldfish. The idea spread to Japan, producing koi ponds fit for emperors. Europe adopted the fashion in the Renaissance. By the 1800s, aquariums appeared in parlors beside pianos. Fish keeping became a symbol of order. Tiny ecosystems in glass, proof of domestic control. Today, tropical fish glow under LEDs, still performing the same quiet illusion of peace. Lizards. Lizards fascinated ancient Egyptians, who associated them with rebirth. For centuries, they were curiosities in jars before becoming modern pets in the 1980s reptile boom. Leopard geckos, bearded dragons, and chameleons brought a prehistoric vibe to suburban bedrooms. They demand sunlight, heat, and silence. Low drama, high maintenance. Living fossils that remind us evolution can be decorative. Raccoons and skunks. Occasionally, people attempt to domesticate cleverness itself. Raccoons were kept as pets in early 20th century America, presidents' families included. Skunks followed, descented and legal in a few states. Both species combine charm and destruction in equal measure. They open jars, steal food, and test human patience as a sport. Not recommended, but undeniably fascinating. Hedgehogs. Romans kept them for pest control in gardens. Modern owners keep them for aesthetic therapy. They sleep through noise, roll up when nervous, and require almost no conversation. The pet industry reintroduced them in the 1990s as pocket pets. They're soft in theory, spiky in practice. Good metaphor for most relationships. Tarantulas. First kept seriously in the 1970s by collectors who preferred calm to cuddly. Tarantulas rarely move and never bark, which some consider virtues. They live quietly in glass boxes, occasionally shedding their skin like avant-garde art. Their owners describe them as meditative, a word rarely applied to anything with 8 eyes. They've helped normalize the idea that beauty and comfort aren't synonyms. Frogs and axolotls. Frogs were sacred to ancient cultures for their link to rain and fertility. Modern amphibian pets trace back to that fascination, the axolotl especially. Native to Mexico's lakes, it never matures past its larval form. Scientists study its ability to regenerate limbs. The internet loves its permanent smile. Half laboratory specimen, half floating emoji. Proof that evolution occasionally indulges whimsy. Exotic birds. Macaws, cockatoos, and African greys took over living rooms in the 20th century. They learned phrases, cursed on cue, and lived long enough to embarrass multiple generations. Colonial trade made them status symbols. Conservation later made them moral dilemmas. They're beautiful, brilliant, and louder than anyone expects. Owning one is a lifelong conversation that mostly repeats itself. Miniature pigs. Originally bred for research, they found accidental fame as teacup pets. Most grew up, literally, into 50-kilogram roommates. Smart enough to open fridges, stubborn enough to demand seconds. They blur the line between barnyard and living room. Some wear sweaters, others redecorate with their snouts. They represent the modern pet paradox. Domestication by whim, affection by negotiation.